Hey guys, welcome back to another daily recap of the 2025 British Chess Championships being held in Liverpool. Today was round 4 and I was paired against a candidate master, Jacob Yun, with the white pieces. So coming into this game, I thought Jacob is a very creative and aggressive player. I was checking his games from the English Championships, if I'm not mistaken, and I saw a game where he played first one c4, he replied with b5, and after c takes b5, I think he played a6, and that really gave me a sense of I'm probably going to get something crazy on the board. So to try to minimize that, I thought to be solid today, and I think it worked out well. So without any further ado, let's get into the game. And before we get into the game, I've listened to your feedback. I'm sorry, I wanted to keep the result as a surprise, but you rightly mentioned that just beside the names, the points were there. But anyways, I've removed it, so you'll see it now in a few seconds. But this game it's going to be a treat for you guys, because it's only, I think, not only, but there are a lot of moves and a lot of chaotic moments. So let's get into it. All right, so now I went with d4. Jacob played knight f6, knight f3, e6, and now bishop f4, the London system. b6, e3. So black is playing in a Queen's Indian approach style. Bishop d3, bishop e7, and a very important move I played is h3. So I had a memory marker that whenever I see bishop e7, I must play h3, because now if I play, for instance, knight d2, now knight h5 is going to be really strong, because there's no bishop g5 anymore, and a move like bishop e5 wouldn't make sense. d6, and once you go back here, the good thing is that black is never in a rush to take the bishop on g3. He will take it at his leisure. So definitely I didn't want to lose my London bishop. So after bishop e7, I played h3. And after h3, he castled, knight d2, d5, and it was pretty standard till this point, where I found knight c6 a bit odd. So here, generally, when black is playing the Queen's Indian style against the London system, usually the players play in a hedgehog way. So it'll be d6, and for instance, let's say c3. Usually they capture, but it could be played at any moment, and then at some point you would play, I think, a6, maybe let's flick in that, rook e1, and now knight d7. And this is the kind of setup black is kind of aiming for. So I was expecting this, and I was preparing for this as well. But after knight c6, which happened in the game, it's not a bad move, but it kind of does play into black's plan. The whole point of playing the early b6, bishop b7, was to eye on this e4 square. But since the knight is blocking it, now there is some confusion. And I think Jacob maybe didn't want to play this, but he played it so quickly that he didn't realize that it was a misstep in a wrong direction. So I was really happy to see this move. I went c3, now d5, and this really helped me. I wouldn't say help me, but I was really satisfied with my opening choice, because now opening has really went well, because generally black does play d5 and c5, but they don't play b6, bishop b7. Rather, they would have the bishop on d6. So there were a lot of good factors for me coming out from the opening. So this was the first major point. I took some time, and I played bishop g3, and which seems like a slow move. So my idea was that black is going to play bishop d6. I want to play knight e5, and apologies guys, I don't have a mouse, so I'll be worse with the arrows. Let me see if I can make an arrow. No, not working. So I was saying, so bishop d6 is black's idea. I want to play knight e5 and then f4. So therefore I went bishop g3, so I give room for f4 at some point. The natural queen e2 was what I was thinking about, but now you can see the difference. So bishop d6 here and queen c7, and now I don't have f4, and white seems to lose its fire. So therefore I want bishop g3. And apparently engines are liking bishop d6 anyways. My intention was to play knight e5, and if they play queen c7 now, I can play f4. But after knight e7, queen b1, I was thinking of queen b1. I think that this is a very complicated position. Engines are saying black is in slight favor, but I think these are the positions that white really wants to play with g4 and stuff. And it's kind of hard for black to play these passive positions. But nevertheless, what happened in the game was after bishop g3, he played a5. And this was another interesting moment. Should I allow a4 or stop it? Should I prevent bishop a6 from happening? So there's two ideas black is posing to me. One is exchanging the bad, the passive bishop, the bad bishop with bishop a6 to my good bishop, or playing a4. Generally, the queenside play in London system isn't that great, so I thought with that notion, maybe I don't need to really bother about it and kind of secure my bishop. So I went queen e2, stopping bishop a6. And after a4, I started to doubt my decision, because maybe a4, bishop a6, takes, and then queen e2, maybe queen a8, kind of guarding e4. Maybe this is not that bad of a position, or maybe I'll play rook e1 and then at some point play e4, and maybe I have a slightly better position when we open up the position. Because I'll tell you why exactly I kind of started to regret this. After queen e2, black played a4, and here I realized his idea was not just to roll down his pawn and kind of soften up my pawn chain, because that's his idea. So in order to soften up a pawn chain, you attack by its base. And you can see here, this is the pawn chain, b2, c3, and d4, and b2 is the base pawn. So definitely black is going to play a3 in the next move. So a3 was like the instant move which occurred to me, but I was like wondering, oh, maybe a3 and then knight a5. This is what struck me, because now there's some ideas like knight b3, and the bishop is now again looking on the e4 square. So I was thinking, maybe can I just make a move like rook probably to d1, in the hopes that if he goes a3, I can play b3, and getting softened up isn't a big deal, I thought, because let's say rook c8, I'll play rook a c1, and I think the threat of e4 is greater than the risk of my weakness on c3. But I realized one important thing. If I go on rook fd1, probably c4, bishop c2, and a3 would have been a bit annoying, because now b3, c takes b3, and I wasn't sure if bishop takes b3, then bishop a6 is happening. But engines are actually liking white's position after a takes b3. But yeah, having a pawn so far advanced, I'm not sure. But now it does make sense, because you want to play b4 at some point, and then rook a2, rook a1, and a3 is going to start to feel the heat. So yeah, probably I should have gone for this one, rook fd1, but I went a3. So after a3, he played knight a5, and here I started to feel the heat, because oh my god, knight e4 looks so attractive for black. And the point is, if black manages to trade my knights, I'll hardly have any play, because I have given up on all my breaks. In the London system, what is the cost white is paying? The cost of not have any pawn breaks, or at least, I mean, with great development, but there's no pawn breaks. So, and to get a nice pawn break, I need some pieces. So I really didn't want to exchange pieces, because now there's like two threats, knight b3, even this e4 break, which is the only break I pretty much have, is under huge question after knight e4. And it is, you know, black plants his knight there. So I went knight e5 with the idea that, all right, since this knight has moved out from the game, let's bring this knight and have some threats of bishop b5 and knight d7. So I was actually expecting knight e4, but then I have some interesting play. Knight takes e4, d takes e4, and bishop b5, and suddenly there's a lot of pressure here on the d line as well. So I was happy if he had gone this, if he had played this, but definitely Jacob was smart and he didn't go for this. But the second option I was checking was knight b3, and here I was kind of thinking about this very nice idea. I was thinking of knight takes b3, a takes b3, and now maybe d takes c5, b takes c5, and c4. And then at some point play rook c1, rook c3, and rook takes b3. I'm not sure how good is this plan, but I felt this was the best one because c4 and kind of locks in these bishops, at least for a while. But engines are claiming that I should just play rook a d1, but I wasn't sure after knight takes d2, rook takes d2. I was thinking of c takes, e takes, and knight e4. What's wrong with this one? Wow, engines are saying that after I could just allow the doubling of my pawns. This is very interesting. But so yeah, I was generally scared of some action on the center, but my opponent was so Jacob didn't pay much attention to this. Rather, he wanted to probably exchange few pieces. And again, that's a great idea for black, because the more exchanges you do, you would find a lot of gaps in white's position. So after knight d7, what he played, this gave me a lot of relief because it feels like white gets back into the game. There's no pressure on e4 now. So I went rook a d1, knight takes e5, d takes e5, obviously, because I think if after bishop takes e5, there's no imbalance in the position to kind of, you know, gain something out of it. So I wanted to play d takes e5. It looks a bit awkward to have a double pawn, but sooner or later white will play e4, and now the clamp is what is really important. And if you remember from my yesterday's game with Amit, this e5 pawn served as a really great thorn in, you know, black's camp. So this was definitely a pawn I was really proud of. So after d takes e5, he played queen c8. Again, I felt this was maybe not that active. I was actually thinking he would play something like queen c7, but no, actually I didn't have any idea really, honestly, sorry. So after queen c8, e4, apparently engines are saying queen h5, g6, and queen h6. I thought about this, but I thought at some point he can play queen e8 and knight f3, f6, bishop h4, and this is kind of good for white. So I missed this idea. I was really happy to get an e4 so that I can go f4, f5. So I guess that kind of sidetracked me, but it does make sense because after d4, my bishop is kind of locked in. So after d4, and guys, the game hasn't just started yet. There's a lot more critical moments here. So takes, f4, bishop c5, bishop h4. And now I have, so I had a choice. I could just open the position with f5 or kind of keep it closed. I thought let's take advantage of the closed center to organize a flank attack. So I went with bishop h4. The idea of bishop h4 is to ion this f6 square, g7, bring the rook lift, f3, g3, and maybe queen g4 at some point. So I was really happy to see this idea in place. So he played bishop a6. So trade, queen a6, king h1. I thought this was a nice prophylactic move. And I wanted to have a dual threat, to have pressure on this d4 pawn and have pressure on this g7 pawn. I knew that if I just go for the d4 pawn, it might not be enough to kind of win because this is a double pawn. So I was trying to be careful that not to just go directly for the pawn, but also not get carried away with this g7 pawn, because, well, if the bishop goes to f8, it's pretty much black's king is safe. So after rook f e8, I went knight f3. Jacob quickly played knight c4, and I was a bit surprised here. And now we're starting to get low on time, guys. So it was move 23 at this point. We still have 17 more moves before the time control, where both of us would get additional 30 minutes each. And we were, down to our last 15 minutes. I went bishop f2. I was calculating knight takes d4. And here's a nice trick which Jacob set up. The idea is that if white captures the pawn, knight takes e5, sacrificing the knight. But now bishop takes d4. And it looks like white cannot recapture because boop, the queen drops. However, I was checking this idea of queen h5. So now threatening to take. And if he goes bishop takes b2, I was thinking of rook d7 ideas, but rook d7, rook f8, I couldn't find a follow-up. But Indians are saying a really nice move. Maybe you can pause the video and check it for yourself. So the right move, if you've taken time, is bishop f6, with the idea to play rook g3. And this is just crushing. I missed this. But probably what if bishop c5, rook d7, rook f8, again bishop f6. Oh, this is deadly. Yeah, I should have played this. This would have been really nice. But what happened in the game was I went bishop f2, knight e3, rook e1, knight c4. So I was a pawn up and I was really happy at this stage. We're still 13 moves, about close to 10 moves left before the time control. Everything looked under control. He went b5, rook d1, queen b6. And here, we're again down to our final minutes. I went for knight g5, thinking that he might have to play a move like queen b7 or something to protect the f7 pawn. After h6, which I didn't expect, I was about to play knight takes f7, but I just couldn't gain the courage because I thought I'm a pawn up. If I just maintain my position, I should be winning. But I was calculating knight takes f7, which I sadly didn't play. But I think that was probably the best chance to kind of get a nice advantage. So the problem was, if I give a check, black doesn't need to go to g8, obviously not on e7, but it can go to f8. And now after rook d7, rook e7, and now I don't have enough pieces really to do a checkmate. However, I could have done rook d7 check. King f8 is still possible. Oh, it's actually not possible now because queen g4. And now the point is rook takes, king takes, and yeah, this should be winning. But the main problem was, okay, what if rook e7? Here I had to find f5, rook takes, king g8, f6. And with the time scramble, I think this would have been a beautiful decision. g6, and no, I think this would have been a fun position to play. But I took things, I took all my time, all my remaining time, and went knight f3. And I certainly started to feel the heat because this knight is really well placed and my knight is not at all. The b2 and a3 are fixed. This is a kind of a dream scenario for black already. So I was kind of running out of moves. I made some random moves, just kind of begging for something. And I was really happy to find queen c2 here. The idea is that after takes, what happened in the game, but the idea is to pin the queen, and it's really hard for black to gain material. So oops, here and here. So the pawns are fixed now, and we reach a very interesting scenario. So we'll get to move 40. So queen b5, knight d4, queen c3, and yeah, this was my 40th move, and here g6 by Jacob. All right, now this in itself is another new game, guys. So we have another 40 moves, I believe, to go for. Another 40 moves. I can't remember. Was it 80 moves? Never mind. So what's the evaluation now? White is a pawn up, a healthy pawn up, but the e-pawns are doubled. There's only one there's only basically 2 pawn islands, and if that gets traded, then we probably have any draw endgame if these both pawns are traded. So for me, it was important to have those 2 pawns on the board and hope for a queen trade, because I think with the knights it should be an easier task to convert. But with the queens, this is going to be a mess. I was happy to see g6 because it creates some weaknesses and I hope for something to happen. So what to do now? This queen and knight are pinned. This is the main point I tried to aim for, that let's use this pin to get a slightly improved position of what I have now to kind of pose some problems. And at this point, I had no clue how to do it, but I just believed that there should be some way. And I think this is really important in these grinding stages. And I would say this is a grinding stage. I think white doesn't have much advantage apart from a pawn up, but how do you kind of improve it? Like from afar, you don't have any way to win a pawn, promote a pawn. So the only way you can do it is just improve piece by piece. Maybe keep the king somewhere closer to the center, have a knight on the outpost, etc., etc. So what I did, so I went knight f3, threatening knight d2. So black has to react. He went queen b5, threatening queen b3. So I have to be careful. I went queen d3 here. Sorry, I said queen b3 for black. So after queen d3, and I gave him a choice. So I knew that I had many ways to play this position. I can go back, which I did eventually, but I wanted to test him. Would he be able to find queen c5 again? I was hoping for queen b3 when I think I have some nice variations to show. So I was thinking queen f8, king g7, then I have f5, whatever you take, e takes, queen f6 check, king g8, and e6. And this is the point. So the point is after queen takes, maybe let's say king g7, check. I was thinking of doing some couple of checks, and then the b8 square should be controlled by my queen, and then I can go knight d4. And I believe that there should be a mating attack, or at least this c4 knight should drop. So I was hoping he would go for this, but he took his time as well, rightly so. So after queen d3, he went queen c5. I went back again with queen c3, queen d4. So it was almost like repeating. Because if I go knight f3 now, I think it's a draw. He can claim a draw after queen b5. But I knew this, so I didn't want to get this. I wanted to avoid that definitely. So I went h4 and just tried to see if I could provoke any weaknesses, like can I provoke h5 or something. But he played king g7, and I was really worried of g5. I think g5 would have been his best chance, probably not only to get back into the game in terms of equalizing, but also to have his own winning chance. Because the problem is, what I thought was I can take, I can go back, take, and then knight d2, I thought, and voila, I'm again trying to win his piece. But now he has a lot of choices. He can just take on a maybe even a3 is possible, but I was thinking of queen e3, and the point is the queen is protected now, so I could not just take because d2 is hanging. Oh, I wonder. Yeah, so that was the problem. So I was lucky that he missed g5. I think g5, I was maybe forced to play g3, and still very unclear position. But I think the more pawns black trades, the easier the defensive task, and my king starts to get exposed as well. So after king g7, king g1, yes, I was thinking, so now I'm doing a tour. I want to bring this king to d3, and whoo, I'm winning a piece because the knight and queen are pinned. But it's not going to be an easy road for sure. Here he played queen c8. Oh, Jacob played king h7, king f1, queen c8, king f2. I was not sure if king e2, so the idea, because I mean obviously this was my idea, but I wasn't sure after queen a6, probably with the tempo I didn't want to allow it, so I just parked my king on f2. And these are the precautionary measures one takes during the grinding stage. You don't want to allow a scenario which wouldn't have happened because of your move. You might take your time, making park moves, try to park yourself in safe squares, and then figure out if allowing that or this works out well. So I was very optimistic at this stage because my pieces are starting to get a bit closer, and his knight, which once was very strong, now feels very fragile. King g8, and here I started to have a lot of hopes that maybe I'm doing well. So here now my queen is really well, my pawns, this pawn is really weak. I cannot take here now exactly because I think queen c5, and this isn't that good. So I played queen b4, again waiting, but you might have thought, why not knight c6? Attack this and have a deadly threat of knight e7. But the problem is very funny. Knight takes a3, b5 is also hanging, so if I play this, king h7, and I think I'm probably losing here now. So I cannot do this. What I could do is queen takes a4, but now he can just play queen d7, and this is going to be similar to the game as well, as you'll see. If I take his knight, he's going to take mine. So I have nothing else but to repeat. So I went queen b4, queen a6, and then again made a parking move. I don't know if I came up with this term, but basically I'm again waiting. Well, I think waiting is the right word to use. Apologies. So I'm again waiting just to see what opportunity it's going to present itself. So g5, and I think this was a bit rash, I think, because you're not sure exactly what is going to happen. At the same time, you have a check. Everything, it seems a bit hanging, and I think Jacob had good enough time to probably think in this position. And I was here at many stages as well. I think this was probably the best point where he could have taken on a3, as the engines were saying. Takes. The point is now the queen gets in. And it seems like I'm losing a lot of pawns. And though it's still very complicated, but I think maybe this was a nice practical way to play this position. But it's not easy to give up, your knights. So after g5, takes. I went with the same idea, and I think this was probably the easiest way for him to, equalize the game, which was just queen takes b5. I think he was worried that after takes, my king might go up here and win the pawn, but I was hoping that this was still winning, but engines are just saying it's dead equal. So let's try to take this pawn. King, let's say e2, king e7, king d2, king d7, king c3, king c6, king d4, and knight d3, and this should be a perpetual, right? King takes, king c5, and yeah, white's position is now bit off the game, and now this knight would really kind of gobble these pawns, and it's going to be soon it's going to be a draw. So yeah, I think this was his best chance. I should have played queen b8 check. I was only seeing king f g7, but I think f5 is really strong, and I wouldn't have found this because in my mind I thought e5 was hanging, but obviously queen takes e5. So yeah, in time trouble you'll always have these oversights. But king h7, and now yeah, this makes sense. I mean, having a tempo and then looking at this c4 knight does make sense. And the good thing is that my king can get into the game, but yeah, again, this maneuver I wouldn't have found. So I went queen b5, and I was super relieved after queen c8, because again I'm back into the game. I went knight c6. Again, I'm posing the same threat, but this time the g5 pawn is hanging. And I remember, yeah, Jacob was kind of, you know, scratching his head that, oh, I messed up. So so from a human point of view, this was like amazing. I thought I'm winning here. At some point I'll play queen f6, g6, and it's game over. But Indians are saying it's still equal with precise play from black. Though Indians are claiming there are much more easier alternatives, but I don't see any of them. But anyways, so what happened was now I'm 2 pawns up, but both sets of pawns are double pawns, so it's going to be tricky to convert. Queen b5, queen c3, king g3. So I was just moving my king upwards. And here I missed a big opportunity, was g6. I thought to play this, but I was low on time. I thought I'll first play g3 and see what happens. But here after queen e1, I thought this is my chance. This is my bloody chance to get back into the winning, winning pattern or the winning technique. So I went for g6. I think after queen h7, it's pretty much impossible to win, because my king can kind of get in. e4 is always going to be under a threat. So I was extremely lucky, and yeah, I was extremely lucky. And after g6, I think this is the only thing what was required of me, just to play g6, and then the play just plays for itself. Queen f6. I was trying to be super careful that there could be some stalemate ideas. I went here and there, and at this moment, actually I was thinking that this is just game over, like queen f7, queen g6, and now here king h8. This is an incredible idea black has, and the point is it's a draw, it's a stalemate. So I have to play king g5 again, and we're still in that same position just a few moves back. Here Jacob played queen c8, and this was a huge relief. The difference now is that the 7th rank is up for grabs, so that's exactly what I did. I gave some checks, went queen e7, and I won the game. After 87 moves, I won the game. So definitely there were a lot of ups and downs. I was extremely lucky there were many moments where it was just a draw, and also the time scramble was insane at some point. But no, definitely a very entertaining game. There were many phases of the game where we had this almost no piece trades, and then from a lot of piece trades to this very unusual endgame where we have a knight and a queen and kind of a closed king position, but kind of a liquidated queen side. So no, this is probably going to be one of my best endgames, I think. Of course the quality is garbage, but still it was a nice journey to kind of use my king, use my knight, and use the pin. That was, I think, probably the favorite thing about this game. So nevertheless, that was a good win. So round 4 was a win. Now this means I'm 3 points out of 4, and tomorrow I'm playing International Master Richard Pert. I played with Richard in last year's British Championship last round, and I won that game with the white pieces, and now I'm going to play with the black pieces. Richard is a very strong player. He has a well worked out repertoire as well. And yeah, I haven't really thought what to play against him, but it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow. So I'll definitely get some prep in and hopefully do well. Thanks for watching, guys. I don't know how long the video was. This is really encouraging for those who are watching my videos. For the couple of days I'm recording, I've been getting really good response. So if you really enjoy this, please consider subscribing, and if you have any feedback, please let me know. I'll try to do whatever I can. All right, thanks guys. Follow me for more action tomorrow. Bye bye, see you.